What is the most NSFW thing you have witnessed at a party? There's always one guy having a bottomless party on his own. Halloween night, after drunken truth or dare, I walked in on my so's brother and cousin going to town on each other. Edit, neither of them were involved in the drinking. Well then, that edit sure changes a bunch of shit. Roll Tide. I have a friend who I introduced to another friend one day, and one of them gets really agitated when they meet. A while later the other one pulls me aside and tells me oh yeah he hates me. We went to high school together and I had a threesome with his girlfriend and his sister. Jacob's ladder? Dude ran to the bathroom, yelled I got a shit, then pulled his pants down, sat his ass on the toilet, and puked on the floor in front of him. Realizing his mistake, he stood up, faced the toilet to puke, and shat on the floor behind him. Amazing. Walked in on my best friend's little sister sucking two guys' dicks at one time. I quietly exited and never spoke a word lol. A while back I was too young to be at a party and this girl ran out of one of the kitchen buck naked, started twerking on the wall. Her boyfriend rushed into the room, literally picked up his GF and started to carry her to his car. The whole time they were walking to the car she kept yelling about how she couldn't wait for the dick tonight. I was 14 visiting my 19 years old cousin. I wasn't ready. This dude I know brought his girl to one of our parties and she got wasted and got up on the coffee table and started stripping for us. He was a kind of passive type too, so all he did was just kind of sadly plead, "Baby, see Monday, baby, see Monday, what are you doing? Get down from the table, please, baby." It was really sad, but she ignored him and gave us a strip show for like 45 minutes. That poor guy. Admittedly, if you can't stop your girl from stripping in front of people at a party, you probably shouldn't be with her. It was on that night that you caramel the lighting became a man. Our CEO had a Super Bowl party at his new giant house for all of the company employees. There was probably 30-40 people there. As the night goes on, everyone is pretty drunk and he's that type of guy who loves to party and is handing out shots all night. Then one of the new guys we just hired can't hold it anymore and pukes on the back patio. Crowd freaks out and the CEO walks up and tells him if he will eat off the ground, he will pay him $100. Puking guy looks at his disappointing look on his wife's, and then turns and says I'll do it for $1,000. CEO busts out $1,000 cash. I guess he just walks around with it. A spoon appears out of nowhere and he proceeded to eat off the ground. Crowd freaks out. CEO tells him he would have paid him $10,000. Worst parties. Monday morning the CEO fired him saying we can't work with people that would do something like that. WTF. Imagine how his interview for the next job went. Interviewer: so why did you leave your most recent position? Puking guy: gimme a spoon and $1,000 and I'll show you. A guy willing to eat vomit for $1,000 is someone you keep. He can be trusted to do any shit job as long as you pay him. At a party a couple of years ago I witnessed a grown-ass adult who was currently attending university drop a turd in a plant pot in the host's living room. He was just in the corner squatting over a plant pot thinking nobody would notice. A cast party for the theater department at my university led to an orgy. 4 guys 5 girls. That's a good ratio. Golden ratio. Knowing high school theater kids and seeing all these wild stories on Reddit, I'm pretty convinced that there are just a bunch of theater kids going on the internet spreading the word on how crazy and sexed up the theater kid life is. I lived that theater kid life for a while. Shit gets wild. If dudes had any idea how much puss straight male theater kids get, high schools would never have to gender switch characters again. I went to a party right out of high school and was drinking with some friends. There was a girl that got super fucked up but was somehow still functioning, and there were some dudes inevitably trying to hit on her. After a few hours, I am fairly drunk and end up getting tired, so I figure I am about to pass out on the couch until drunk girl sits next to me. She tells me she's horny and that we should fuck. I am like yeah okay, I've got a condom. Sure, 5 minutes of fooling around and she stops me and tells me that in order to fuck her, I have to tell her that I love her. I sat there for a moment and responded, but I don't love you. This apparently broke her heart because she ran off to the other room and I was just kinda left there stupefied. A minute later I hear people yelling and freaking out. I walk in the kitchen and lo and behold drunk girl is face down in the floor, dress up, no panties, with liquid shit erupting out her ass like some kind of white trash Krakatoa. The smell was foul, and I didn't stick around for the cleanup. I went to my car and passed out until about 7 AM and went home. White trash Krakatoa, well done. Sounds like you dodged a bullet. Train of shit. Final year of high school, at a party where everyone was really wasted. Like, the stupid drunk you got before you understood limits. One girl couldn't handle it anymore, so she pulled her jeans down and started masturbating on the couch in front of everyone. Was dark and I don't know if everyone really noticed. Wasn't like those videos where everyone stands around cheering. But then the dad who owned the place walked in and it got kind of awkward. Good party. Elaborate. He just said this is how you furiously wank and unleash the kraken right there. One by one, the kids tried to show him up, but they were no match for his practice technique. They got nothing on that dick. Went to a topless party in college, as in a party where guys and girls were shirtless. After doing a jello shot off of a stranger's boobs, I told my friends a few doors down about the party. They arrived just as most of the girls went into a back room to get high, and a big bearded man decided to show off his Jacob's ladder by making it a bottomless party. My friends didn't trust me for a while after that. Piercings along the shaft, leading from the sack to just below the helmet. You wanna wow 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 wow. You wanna wow 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 wow. The sound she makes on the way back up while her tongue rings hits each step. Partying in the barracks, my room had all the beer in the fridge. I was going down on this girl, when I felt a hand on my left shoulder. Briefly paused to look up, when my buddy says Kykestant, you're doing a great job. I just needed to grab a beer. I went right back to what I was doing. I love this story more than most of the other ones. Yup, this is my favorite so far. That's oddly kinda wholesome. Edit. Something my top comment is about wholesome oral sex. Yeah, I have this same story and sometimes I do miss it. But then there was the party that my friend busts into the bathroom while I'm taking a leak, puts his hand on my shoulder and says, man, you better hit that tonight, in reference to a girl at a barracks party I was hitting on. I don't miss that. I once saw a guy shit his pants and then chuck them out the window. I once saw a guy shit his pants and just leave them on. Everyone knows you shit your pants, dude. Take some kind of action. I saw a man who had been kicked out of the party for shitting his pants stand at the street and bandy shouted insults with the people still at the party. Obviously they were getting the upper hand. The guy tried to stomp off in his soiled sweat pants but fell in a mud puddle and just wallowed, moaning and wailing. It was quite the spectacle. If I shit my pants, I'd probably sit in a mud puddle too. What a great cover up. We were throwing a house party for one of our roommates that was turning 21. Said birthday boy was wasted fairly early in the night and was placed in the bathtub with the curtain drawn. Their logic was that he could sleep and if he threw up he'd be in the tub. A couple hours later this girl shows up. She was a friend of a friend, 18, maybe 5 foot tall super white girl who just got off her shift at Twin Peaks. As the mostly sober host, I welcomed her and went outside to have a cigarette. Maybe 15 minutes later I return inside to find the tiny white girl on the floor puking into a trash can. Well, that escalated quickly, but not shocking considering her size. The start of the weirdness was that she was conversing with my friend Daniel, in fluent Spanish. Oh, okay, so she speaks Spanish. A little surprising but whatever. So between heaves Daniel and I help her to the bathroom to pray to the porcelain god. She wants to shut the bathroom door. I say sure, but not to lock the door so we can get in there if she passes out, to make sure she doesn't, you know, die. Of course, as soon as she goes in she locks the door. What we had forgotten was that birthday boy was asleep in the tub. He was awoken by what he described as the worst smelling shit he had ever smelled in his life. Not wanting to let this random girl know he was hiding in the bathtub, he did his best to keep quiet through the gagging. Tiny girl had diarrhea so rank that she decided that she was too embarrassed to face the party. Her solution? Climb out the tiny bathroom window. When we got the door unlocked and went in, we found her halfway out the window, her shit-covered thong on the floor, and birthday boy pale and sweating in the tub after his unwanted birthday surprise. She slept on her side on the couch with a female friend to watch over her. The next morning she claimed to not remember a thing and swears she doesn't know a word of Spanish. TLDR, a tiny white girl got absolutely sloshed in a few minutes. Started speaking Spanish, then shit herself so bad she tried to escape through the window. Edit. Added a couple details. What sort of magical tequila did this girl drink? Everclear. Fucking porn water. Gets you every time. Had an outside party at an old house of mine where a rondo passed out on his side in the middle of the driveway. The 8 or so friends he'd come with all let him sleep and the party continued around him. Eventually someone yells my name and points at the passed out fella who's managed to get his dick out and start peeing while still on his side. At this point everyone outside has stopped what they were doing to gasp at this turn of events. After a while he begins to slowly lean backwards and the arc of piss gradually goes higher and higher into the air. Finally he makes it all the way onto his back and the angle of his pecker is just right so that the remaining piss hits him right between the eyes. Half the party was disgusted and unimpressed, but the rest had plenty to bond over for the rest of the night. TLDR passed out dude pisses on his own face in front of an audience. Edit everyone asking if this was in their city is hilarious. Y'all are fucked up. Half the party was disgusted and unimpressed, but the rest had plenty to bond over for the rest of the night. The crowd as he rolled over. Reaction Beef's webpage. Spot on. At a party in a huge house on the lake that had a second living room upstairs. Walking up the stairs I can hear all this commotion going on. As I enter the room there is this guy smashing a chick on the couch, doggy style, right there in front of everyone. He was getting high fives from other guys and people were just standing around watching and cheering. Well, a few years later, I get married and at Thanksgiving dinner with my in-laws when my brother-in-law brings his new girlfriend to meet the family. You guessed it, it was her. Same girl that was getting smashed on the couch. Well, he ended up getting married to this girl and now every time I see them at a family get together all I can see is the image from that night at the lake. Did you ever tell him? No, I never told him. Didn't have the heart. I did tell my wife however, about her new sister's fun-filled past. Also, imagine how that conversation would go. Haha, it must be strange. Some dude passed out in the corner of this apartment party and there was a dude crouched over him trying his hardest to shit on his head. He couldn't do it so nothing happened, but I wondered if I should have told the passed out guy what he tried to do. But then again, if someone tried to shit on my head when I was passed out I wouldn't want to know about it. Not nice. Someone tried to shit on my head when I half passed out drunk once. I punched him in the balls and he passed out lol. So did you shit on his head to get back at him? That's how he got into this situation in the first place. I've been to a couple of parties where a few people decided it would be a good idea to throw decorum to the wind and start fucking in the backyard. Most of us gathered round to watch, but on one occasion, a few others joined in. Dothraki wedding? Doesn't sound like there were any deaths, so it is considered a duh affair. Where are all these fuck parties? What was I even doing in college? Joined in, like they were just fucking and then boom a stranger's finger in your ass. Walked in on a girl taking a dump on a guy. What the fuck? Nice. Friend hired a prostitute for his day party and she proceeded to bang any guy who wanted it. None of them even knew. They all thought she was some chick who was visiting from Georgia. They still tell the story like she wasn't a prostitute. Please wear protection, please wear protection. Was she paid beforehand or did she keep book and left a receipt later? She was paid by my friend. Was it cheaper to get the season pass? I think they got the wristband. We had a prostitute living next door to our buddy's beach house on the Jersey Shore. One night there was a group of guys parked in front of our house by the parking meters broke down fixing their van. We were heading out for the night and as we left, we yelled out, "Hey, hope you got enough quarters." Well, the prostitute later told us they did have enough quarters, because she serviced all 4 of them. Another night my buddy drunklet wandered off from us, as he tends to do, and said the prostitute cornered him by the CVS asking if he'd buy her a toothbrush. She later told us it was because she had just got done tossing a dude's salad. Another night she let herself into our fence and sat with us while we were drinking on the front porch. She started telling us about all of her johns and what they liked, including her pretending to be the guy's daughter while he had his way with her, and changing guys in diapers. She even left her john list with us that had names, numbers, and what they were into. Unfortunately she got way too drunk, tried to sleep on our couch, and when we kicked her out, she spit in my buddy's face and called us all the N-word. We are white as was she. Then tell us that it's on us when she goes to sleep in a shelter tonight and gets gang raped by a group of N-words. She ran off into the night crying and we never saw her again. All in all, that was a fun vacation. 9/10 would recommend a TED Talk. W, a drunk prostitute. Did she fill up an evidence bag afterwards? Freeze. You're busted, buddy. I'm a cop. Some chick was having a house party while her parents were out of town and she was in her teens. Invited like half the school. She was a typical stuck-up bitch that didn't really have real friends, just a bunch of fake ones. Anyways, this one guy's having a good time being reasonable and she doesn't like him, so she has a bunch of people just starting to treat him like shit. He then gets told to leave and he's like, I gotta use the bathroom first. And there is currently all bathrooms occupied, so she tells him to leave, he can't use the washroom. The dude then said, oh, there's a urinal here, and proceeds to punch a hole in the wall and pisses in it. Edit. Added a few words. Her parents. Walked in on the host's parents going at it. Can't be unseen. Solid logic. She was a bit odd. We only hung out a few times after that. She got super fixated on one of my roommates. In hindsight, I wonder if she had some obsessive compulsive issues. Sounds like she obsessed about dick that night. Obsessive cock disorder. Gotta fuck 'em all. Jerliman. Pocahontas. I'm like that with Doritos. A woman with no pants on running out of my friend's bedroom shouting too much dick. Edit. Since this popped up multiple times. No, this wasn't Podrick. And since I've heard that several times now, can someone please tell me who that is? Thank you. Also, no, he only had one dick. I have seen it. He was not exactly shy about it. To quote one of our favorite stories about having gone to his cabin for a summer, we came downstairs to find him wearing nothing but a pillow and a smile. The pillow was under his head. Achievement unlocked. Legend says he is still riding that wave. The absolute fucking legend. I was at a Halloween party in the last year of high school, where two friends of mine had a threesome with a girl in the bathtub while one other girl watched. That's how my friend lost his virginity. Best 37 seconds of his life. Huh. A guy and a girl full on fucking missionary style at a warehouse party. Dozens of people just walked by with barely a glance. A San Francisco. I let a friend of mine join once. I knew he wasn't the best with girls but didn't realize in 20 years he'd never even gotten a blowjob. It was an awkward 10 seconds followed by an even more awkward evening. Edit. Shit, I didn't think 1,000 plus people were going to read this, haha. I should have plugged my card game. Edit 2. I actually am working on a card game. Hoping it will save me from engineering. But I was joking about plugging. 1. It's not allowed. 2. It's not done. 3. I wouldn't want this comment to be associated with my game professionally if I plan to make a living off a brand. Meh, he should just have laughed that off and kept going. With not even a BJ in 20 years, he should have had a couple more in him. I told him to go for round 2. He claimed he came quick on purpose and wanted to go to bed. 8 PM. He just sat on his phone till 11 and passed out. Damn. Poor dude. Okay, now that's just sad. Guess his self-esteem wasn't high enough after the Insta-splodge incident. Seen two blokes trying to get a girl into bed. Not at the same time. The one who actually did came back after and threw the used condom in the other bloke's face and says, smell what you could have won. Goddamn ruthless. Goddamn asking for a broken nose. And the other guy just sat there and took it. Wasn't much he could do, he was too drunk to stand. Happened at my house. Girl came over, got way too drunk, took off all her clothes and started masturbating on my stairs and then on the couch and then back on my stairs. Then she fell down said stairs. We tried putting her to bed before all this went down, but she kept coming back out, each time with less and less clothes on. Eventually we all just kinda ignored her and let her do her thing. Edit. I just wrote this out of order. We tried putting her to bed multiple times first. Each time she came out she had fewer and fewer clothes on until she was naked. Then she started doing her thing. Grandma, I know you're excited to be back on the market, but please try to behave yourself at Grandpa's wake. I work in long-term care, especially with demented old ladies. The fury they play with fire clitoris is like how an angry substitute teacher flicks a light switch on and off to get an unruly classroom under control. Imagine putting on a show like that and getting ignored. Maybe if she did a little butt stuff, this story would have turned out differently. Was not expecting you to be the same guy. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but distinctly remember being in the basement at a house party playing a game where everyone ends up naked. Door busted open and I'm looking at the boots of the town sheriff yelling for his daughter. Oh shit, she can't find her pants. Help me find my pants. I would like to know how to play this game. A lady smoking a cigar with her butt. Was she farting through the cigarette? We need an engineer to explain this, but I assume pressures are a factor. Well, first you need to introduce a pressure differential. In the case of the anus, this can usually be obtained by burning off some methane. So what you do is light your cigar and hold it, carefully, with the lit end near your anus and relax. The fumes will ignite and all the methane and most of the oxygen within the anal cavity will then be consumed, creating a vacuum which can then pull in air through your cigar filter. Just be sure to cork it fast enough. That being said, there is the risk that there will be too high a concentration of methane. That is, you're super gassy. If this happens, it's possible to undergo what engineers in the field have termed an anal explosion. If this happens, it's very important to relax the anus in order to create a path of escape for the fiery, gassy inferno. Warn any bystanders to stand clear because an anus in these cases have been known to project flames up to 5 feet. Arshitayaskshan's in the literal sense. Working at a pub hosting a gypsy traveler christening. All was well. The head of the family, male father of the child, began the day by handing me £1,000 in cash for the bar whilst telling me, if there was any trouble I should speak to him first, and no one was allowed to spend money, and when the cash ran out I should ask him for more. The party was going okay. On rule 1. A teenage male gets groped my 17-year-old waitress. I informed family head and said teenager returns 10 minutes later with a slowly blackening eye and a profuse apology to my waitress, who soldiered on like a champ. The party is drawing to a close and family head comes to me with £200 in cash for me and said teenager because we didn't treat his family like jippers as most people do. As he, wife and christened child are preparing leave, I hear him shout at his wife and look up in time to see him punch her to the side of the head. She staggers. I manage to make it to staggering wife, grab the baby, and wife then falls to the floor. Baby gets passed to another female family member whilst I grab the teenage waitress and proceed and hide stand behind the bar whilst a Wild West saloon style brawl commences between about 50 to 60 men, women and children. Memorable moments include a woman hitting the family head with a chair and a child, who couldn't have been more than 10 years old, gleefully throwing glass bottle at random into the crowd whilst giggling. Several police riot vans arrive and clear the travelers out. Those that can't flee are arrested and I had to work late to clean up the mess. The worst part is the owner of the bar witnessed it all on the security camera, sent his wife upstairs to see what was going on and proceeded to lock the steel reinforced office door after she left to protect himself. This all happened in daylight during an otherwise quiet Sunday afternoon. Edit. The responses have been awesome. I'm currently reading some out to my toddler instead of his usual bedtime story, although he doesn't seem impressed. Think he's more of a Postman Pat sort of kid. It was in Northern Ireland 10 or so years ago, although it seems to happen frequently elsewhere. Apologies to those who thought a woman hit a man with a child owing to poor grammar on my part. I'm gonna leave it as it is, as that made me laugh. A child, who couldn't have been more than 10 years old, gleefully throwing glass bottle at random into the crowd whilst giggling. Best part of that story. Damn bottle kids. I don't know. This pending divorce is pretty fantastic. The worst part is the owner of the bar witnessed it all on the security camera, sent his wife upstairs to see what was going on and proceeded to lock the steel reinforced office door after she left to protect himself. Hitting the family head with a chair and a child. Have you ever been so angry you've used a child as a weapon? Didn't treat his family like jippers as most people do, then acts in the exact same fashion that has people treating his family that way. Gypsy funerals go just about the same way. Usually the carpet has to be replaced and the walls have to be redrilled and painted. They are insane. I saw a girl take out her tampon and use it to write hardcore on the wall. That's fucking hardcore. Elaborate on spit roasted, my good hawk. Think of a Chinese finger trap and then replace everything with people. Ex-funeral director here. I can confirm the funerals are insane. We had a guy pee in a visitation room at one of them. Roma gypsies and Irish travelers. Each group had their own quirks. Also saw a Catholic priest accept a wad of cash to perform a marriage ceremony for a Roma man and the dead person in the casket. Not NSFW, but definitely weird. Why did the funeral home put up with it? One reason is they would buy insanely expensive caskets. Top of the line. Full couch. One big lid instead of split. Solid bronze or copper. About $10,000 back in the 80s. They had to be ordered special for them. The most expensive casket we usually had in stock was about 3,500 or so back then, and thousands spent on flowers, too. All cash. Fun fact: Forest Lawn Glendale is full of Irish travelers, most buried in what are sometimes called garden crypts, little walled gardens for entire families. There are a dozen or so, most of which are travelers. I recall the name, White, but there are others. Evergreen Cemetery in Eastler has many Roma gypsies, many with the name Adams. Edit correction. There is a gypsy family that live in the same village as me. Just some of the stuff they do: keep over 10 dogs in cages in their garden. The dogs only get let out of the aged area to go poaching. The only cover the dogs have is a piece of tarp. They bark 24/7. To get rid of the crazy amount of poo 10+ dogs produce, the owner just shovels it over his fence into the meadow behind his house. Their children play out in the street throwing rocks, scraping their bike along cars and digging holes in other people's gardens. One time one of their kids threw a lump hammer through the windscreen of a neighbor's car they let their kids play on and in their pickup truck like it is a adventure playground. The street is on a moderate slope, and one evening this summer one of the kids released the handbrake, causing the truck to roll down the street and through a wooden fence. Their front garden is like a city dump, easily 4 foot deep in rubbish bags. Rubbish that they don't dump on their lawn gets burnt in their open fire. Paper, wood, plastic, everything. Their friends come and go all hours of the day, often blocking the entire road by just parking in the middle of the street like a side mission from GTA. They sell drugs to the ice cream truck that visits, who then distributes said drugs around the area. One weekend the male adult gypsy got drunk in the nearest town, stole a car, drove home drunk and dumped it in a nearby field. Same bloke had a 3-month-long affair with a teenage girl in the village and her mum. I'm not suggesting by any means they are all like this, that would be silly, but those that are nothing but scum. The council refused to accept any further complaints against them, as the gypsies have kicked up a fuss saying they are being discriminated against. But why did he punch his wife? Someone did a bump of coke in the bathroom, then took off all his clothes and ran around the house. The reason why the police were called was because this was at a 13-year-old's birthday party. Never hiring that magician again. Hired a magician. Got upgraded to puppetry of the penis. Fair trade, I'd say. Was it that baby's party? I went back to school at 32 and there was this hot 25-year-old I used to flirt with every day before and after class. One day we meet up to get some food before class and she casually mentions she has a husband. After class I'm walking her to her car and it starts raining and she's just like, "We should go sit in your car for a few minutes." We get to my car and start chatting and she says something like, "You seem a little rough around the edges, like you might be down with people who like to live alternative lifestyles that other people might be judgmental about." Turns out her and her husband were swingers who had a big group of younger swinger friends, and her birthday party was that Friday. I got invited, so I show up, and mind you I'm an alcoholic who's sober at this time. So this is awkward as shit to me not being able to drink to loosen up a bit, but I guess she had been crushing on me big time and all her friends knew who I was. It gets wild around 1030ish when two people start banging on the pool table butt naked. People are rolling on Molly and there's whippets being passed around. Another chick spread eagle getting finger banged and eaten out on the couch. Around 1 AM I'm tired as shit and totally sober. I don't know anyone and I don't know how this swinger thing works, so I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get laid. So I start talking about leaving. But the homeowner is like, "Bullshit. Take your clothes off, that hot girl right there wants to give you a blowjob." And sure enough I turn around and there's a pretty attractive chick my own age sitting on the couch with her top off, patting the seat next to her for me to come sit down. To wrap up this long-winded story, I did exactly that. Sat down, introduced myself, got naked, got a blowjob on the couch in front of a few dozen people. Some other girl came and sat down on the other side of me, put her leg over mine and started playing with herself. I should probably mention there was a big bowl of condoms in the kitchen and literally everyone I saw, including myself, was playing safe. Later I ended up going upstairs and banging this other girl for like an hour while another couple watched and jerked each other off. I didn't end up leaving until 7 AM. My abs were sore as shit and I was tired as fuck, and there was still a literal orgy going on in one of bedrooms when I popped my head in to say goodbye and thanks. Imagine 6 people all getting each other off and politely stopping to say, "Bye, nice to meet you." Thanks for coming. Drive safe, and then going right back to doing what they were doing. It was a trip. TLDR. Flirted with hot girl from English class at school. Girl turns out to be married swinger. Invites me to her day party. Sexcapades ensue until 7 AM. That can't be the last time you saw them. No, actually I became pretty good friends with her and her husband. They lived right around the corner from me and we used to hang out. Just regular hangout. Quite a bit. I got invited to a couple more parties but never went. I probably will again in the future. This is probably the healthiest, most wholesome story in this entire thread. We were at a house party and this drunk guy got on the roof. Everyone wanted him to jump into the pool, so he did. Breaks an ankle in the process when he missed. I am a golden god. I'm on drugs. I dig music. I'm on drugs. Watched a girl drink a beer bottle full of piss. My friend thought it would be hilarious to piss in a bottle and put it in the fridge. A girl who was smashed picked it out the fridge and then drank some. She shouted, "This tastes like piss," then proceeded to take another sip. Never drink an open bottle of beer left in the fridge at a party, people. Edit. My inbox is full of piss. This tastes like piss. Sip. Yup, definitely piss. Sip. But who would put a bottle of piss in the refrigerator? Sip. Weird. Sip. But hey, free alcohol is free alcohol. Sip. Still taste like piss. Sip. RIC. So they took her to Paris the cheap way. Well, when the two guys high five, then they form the Eiffel Tower. This like. But I learned something new. Without the high five, it's called the London Bridge. I just learned that fact yesterday and a day later there's use for it. Go figure. It amazes me how not one of those words is NSFW, but when they come together in that specific order. Arspit roasted NSFW. I have a similar story. Me and a big group of friends went to EDC Dallas in 2010. Me and my girlfriend got separated from the rest of the group. And when we finally found them at the end of the night, one of my friends had a girl with him and said she was coming back to the hotel with us. Me and my girlfriend had our own room with one of her friends, and in the room next of us it was 4 of my guy friends, and the girl one of them brought over. They took turns fucking her in the bathroom. We could hear it through the wall and went on for 2 or 3 hours. When it was the 4th friend's turn, she was all out of juice and couldn't take any more. He was pissed. He was extra pissed the next morning when he found out he had to drive her 2 hours out of the way to take her home. It was all 4 dudes and her in his car, and apparently, it was the most awkward, silent car ride ever. It was like the walk of shame. Only she had to be stuck in a car with 4 dudes she didn't even know the names of for 2 hours. A girl was proud that she could fit a 1.25L Coke bottle in her vagina. Everyone was like, yeah, cool. That's kind of weird to tell everyone, and everyone carries on. About 3 hours later everyone is fucked up and the party is getting a bit weird. Some people had taken acid. Some had dropped some mark caps. Some were smoking weed. Standard stuff. This girl is off her face on Mar and is adamant about wanting to show everyone how cavernous her vagina is. So she takes her skirt off and readied herself, then proceeds to put a 1.25L Coke bottle halfway inside herself. Everyone was shocked but fascinated. She was so proud. She wasn't so proud the following week at school when everyone called her cola candies. Edit. A word. She should have tried it with Mentos. Yeah, might as well blow some Coke too. She was already warmed up. Haha, that reminds me, when I was in HS we had an anal ally. I always wonder what she's up to these days. Anal probably. Road trip to Alabama with my college roommate so he can win his ex's heart back. It was a fun, drunk week party hopping. One frat party we went to was outdoors and we were already wasted before getting there. My roommate and his ex were making out and I told them to get a room. They then vanished into the night and left me alone to talk to this dude from New York who looked just like Christian Bale. Or at least according to my drunk brain. I got his number for some reason and went looking for my roommate. Next thing I know, a group of girls are screaming like they found a dead body. Behind the truck was my roommate and his lady going at it doggy style while he is flexing behind her to all of the people now staring at them. They were kicked out, which meant I was also kicked out. I still have Christian Bale's number in my phone. Edit. For those still following, you reps for freedom had a friend who was at the party. Update. Roommate isn't Kevin, but knew about the events that went down. Your friend doing his Patrick Bateman impression in public. Had a good laugh about it. What is the most NSFW thing you have witnessed at a party? AskReddit webpage. This is why I love Reddit. Somehow found a connection from a random mass party from 8 years ago. Cheers everyone. Did it ever work out with your roommate at his ex? That is its own story. To make it short, my roommate ended up hooking up with my girlfriend of 3 years behind my back. They are now married with a kid. I haven't spoken to either of them since 2009. Holy crap, that's messed up. Sorry man. Also I thought you were gay based on the Christian Bale stuff. I mean, I'd go gay for Christian Bale. Wait, he was your friend? That at one point you took a road trip just to help him win back his ex-girlfriend, and he later returned the favor by hooking up with your girlfriend of 3 years fully knowing she was your girlfriend and was cheating on you. I mean, in my mind 3 years makes it a pretty serious relationship even if young and in college. I would have been really crushed if that happened to me with any of my long-term girlfriends from that era. That's just fucked up. Why do people do this kind of thing to others? I can't believe she went along with it as well. Was it like an I'm leaving you for him, or was it like a sneaking around your back cheating kind of thing? Either way, still pretty scumbag. Edit. This almost is my top comment of all time. Second place right now. Really, it's never something witty or cool I say, but always some stupid rant. Haha. Thanks for the updates lol mayo. When I was a kid, in the UK all glass panels and windows in school had that metal wire mesh grid stuff inside. So if shattered it would just kind of hang together. Maybe that stuff turned out to be dangerous some other way. Edit. Till some people like to punch a window occasionally and there's probably no way to ensure their safety. Wired glass. Safety glass. Wikipedia webpage. Wire mesh glass is installed because it won't fall out even if it breaks, so it's better protection for fire as it prevents the fire from spreading. But it's also far more dangerous as it weakens the structure of the glass and makes the pieces that do fall out more irregular and dangerous. It's banned in most US buildings now. Hell no, I wouldn't want to have interrupted their rhythm. My girl and I sat and smoked a joint between us, and talked quietly about this crazy scene we were witnessing. It was more like a piece of theater, art, something to be observed and respected. Yeah, it was a whole fucked up ordeal. My ex and I were fighting at the time. We went to different colleges about 30 minutes apart and communication was lacking. We mostly saw each other on weekends. After a nasty fight with my ex, she stormed back to her own college, leaving my roommate and I. He was acting really distant and hiding his phone from me. He left to go to the bathroom, leaving his phone unlocked on the couch. My curiosity got the best of me and I snooped. Literally the text app was open with a conversation with himself and my ex. I was thinking maybe he is just trying to support her while we were fighting. Nope. Last text from him. I can't wait to stay at your dorm this weekend. Being just us will be amazing. My brain broke in that moment. I just wanted to leave everything. Moved back into my parents. Continued paying the lease on our shared apartment until it was up. What's fucked up is I know she was probably living there as she was only staying in a dorm at her college. 8 years later and I'm much happier now. Edit. Thanks stranger for the gold. To the others who are experiencing similar shit, I can promise you it will get better. It will hurt like a roommate fucker for a while, but as long as you surround yourself with good friends and keep yourself busy, you'll be fucking your own guy girl etc behind a truck while flexing. We should talk. I've been betrayed too and I don't know how to deal with it. Best medicine for me was my friends. I had a few back home when I moved back with my parents. That plus a lot of Netflix and work. Keeping yourself and your mind busy is what's important. Eventually you'll think about them less and less to where you can finally imagine your life without them. Plot twist. It was Christian Bale. This would be an interesting short film, but only if you could get the real Christian Bale in on it. I did see a movie where Christian Bale railed a chick doggy style while flexing, so maybe he really was there. Someone changed a fuse while inebriated. That's just reckless. I was really drunk at a party once and the power went out. I went downstairs and saw a breaker had tripped, so I went to my car, got my multimeter and figured out the breaker had shit the bed. People were getting ready to leave, but luckily I had an extra breaker in my car, so I fixed it and the party continued. Since I had saved the party, everyone was giving me drinks and drugs, so I ended up not remembering anything. When my friend told me that what I did and how drunk I was just glad I didn't kill myself. You are now banned from our electricians. More like he is now the mod of our electricians, am I right? A girl blindfolded, tied down to a bench and sucking off whoever was standing in front of her while her girlfriend alternated between spanking and whipping her. Addendum: if this is SFW for you, please let me know where you work. It sounds fun. A few of us were sitting in a room smoking up when a drunk guy came running in. He looked at us, pulled his pants down and lit his pubes on fire while shouting bushfire. That man is truly a god. No, that is how you talk to God. Now that is some fucked up shit. Back in high school, friend had an open house and threw a party. Uncle came to check on us, and we found him smelling a girl's vomit in the bathroom and playing with himself. That's one fucked up fetish. Niece, does he only smell girls' vomit, or is he bile-curious? A guy shit his pants while trying to dance with a girl. He was beyond fucked up and that defined the rest of his staying career. Edit: this is from 2005 to 2006. We were stationed at Camp Casey, then moved to Camp Castle right up the road. We were the main support battalion closest to the north. He wasn't nervous, just couldn't not shit his pants when he got super wasted. This blew up pretty quickly for a shit your pants story. Thanks for letting me relive some great times I hadn't thought about in years. He's since moved to the north and wants to nuke everyone for making fun of him. Heathen. Dear leader has no asshole. This scenario becomes more plausible by the second. Little Willie shits his pants. Perfectly round. That's right, Georgie. Shit on top of my shit. Watched a guy lose at beer pong and get mad enough that he turned around and punched the first thing he could land his hand on, which turned out to be a window. In the movies, if you break a window, you don't get hurt. In real life, if you slam your fist through a window, the falling glass cuts you so deep you practically amputate your own hand. There was so much blood that we thought that was what happened. We thought he sliced his hand off. One of the sober partiers rushed him to the hospital while the rest of us just left because the scene involved so much blood and gore that none of us even wanted to party anymore. He ended up okay, as in early scar for the rest of his life, but at least he didn't actually lose his hand. Yup, seen the same kind of thing happen. It's a fucking bloodbath. Looks like some literally got murdered there. Some kid at a nearby high school almost died when he ran into a glass door and tried to stop himself with his hands. Glass broke. Hands went right through. Both wrists cut open. Blood everywhere. You applaud afterwards, at least? Or was there just an awkward silence after they finished? I need to learn the proper etiquette for this kind of thing, I figure. Back in school, a friend of mine, big guy even at that age, ran full force towards a hallway door with wired glass. He put his hands up to push it open but didn't aim for the wooden parts of the door and instead charged both hands right through the wired glass. Guy got stuck. It was a bloody mess. Literal kind. Not the British kind. Well, both actually. They had to get the janitor to cut him loose before they rushed to the hospital. He was the coolest kid after that. It helped that he had Super Nintendo. I have a friend who did this accidentally as a kid, falling into a screen door. He severed a bunch of tendons. Lots of surgery. Bad news. Damn. He's lucky. A movie theater near my home had this happen on their first day of business. Kid fell through front glass door. Died of his wounds. The theater shut down in a week. That shit was not built properly then. Why anyone would put a fucking single paned plate glass door on the front of their business is beyond me. If it's gonna be plate glass, it should at least be super thick so nobody can break it accidentally, and multi-paned. Ideally it should be safety glass which spider webs instead of shattering. And if it does shatter, it does so in small dull pieces. Edit: I think a couple dozen more people should comment about how it's called tempered glass. Edit 2. Come on Reddit, you're losing your edge. I've only gotten like 6 or 8 more tempered glass comments. My finest Reddit silver to number 20. I was at a college pool party with all my friends, but they invited some weird looking guys, but hey, they brought more food and drinks. We were all in the pool just having fun. It wasn't a really big pool, maybe 15 MTS long tops. And then out of nowhere they started having sex there while we all were inside the pool. We all ran from the pool. Some girls were screaming, and they just kept doing it. I swear to God those guys didn't give a fuck at all. That's why you don't invite the McPoyles anywhere. Posted before but still NSFW NSFL. Darwin Award. Guy that I knew of in high school thought that because he was gangster he knew how to handle a gun. grabs a revolver from the home and tries to cowboy gunslinger it by spinning it on his finger. He got 1 or 2 rotations in her and bang 1.38 round right to the empty space between the ears. Party died just as fast as he did. He killed himself. Jesus. Yep, that's what happens when you don't respect the rules of gun safety. My brother was at a party and watched a guy get killed when someone ran in with a gun and shot another party goer point blank. Edit because I suck at communicating. The party my brother was at is not an indication of gun safety but another example of guns NSFW situations at a party. Where do you live so I know never to party there? High desert of California. This stuff happened around 2003 to 2004. So many people from lower income areas moving and buying affordable housing on variable April. They brought kids who either were in gangs or thought it was cool to act like they were in one. Winner winner chicken dinner. I didn't witness this, thank God, but I was told and saw the cleanup the next day. I was going to my local tattoo shop to get something done and when I get there are police cars and an ambulance. My buddy who worked at the shop at the time sees me and just says, "Dude, come back tomorrow. I can't talk right now, but I'll tell you tomorrow." So I go back the next day. He takes me to the private room they have for friends or VIPs of the shop and shows me a big part of the carpet that is missing. He goes on to tell me how this Hell's Angel friend of the owner of the shop was hanging out the night before, drinking, getting some work done. When he decides to open a drawer and finds a revolver, he takes out all but 1 bullet and goes, her before spinning the chamber, putting the barrel to his temple and pulls the trigger. Well, he lost. Removed. Oh, I got one. Junior year of high school. There was this huge circle made in the living room, so I made my way to the front to see what was up. My classmate was going at it with some chick missionary style. Everyone was filming it and cheering them on. He finished on her stomach and someone threw confetti in the air with everyone exclaiming for joy. Definitely in my top 10 WTF moments, although I'll admit, watching it was a little hot. I now have a new goal of carrying confetti around with me at all times in my pocket, just to be prepared for something like this. A little? That's basically a free sex show. People pay good money for that. I was about 18 and at a friend's gathering party. Said friend's mum came home from her date drunk, followed me into the bathroom and wrapped her hands around my dick and tried to go down on me. This would be like an ultimate fantasy if she was hot, but sadly not. Still not told him that all the time a girl took off her pants and squatted onto a Smirnoff Ice bottle and proceeded to pleasure herself with it and pose for pictures. Ice. In Liverpool, right? It has to be in Liverpool. Sadly not. It's a smaller, filthy, Northern Midlands UK town. Edit. Actual northerners getting offended that I referred to Mansfield as northern. Saw some guy put a banana in the washing machine, put it on a 40 spin and masturbate whilst watching it. Don't do drugs, kids. This is my favorite one. What drug would even make you do this? Claritin. Or threesome which involved anal, which shortly became a gangbang until my friend sobered up and left the room. We all watched from the window due to the smell and it made the term swapsies take on a whole new term for the remainder of uni. It's more NSFL, but one time a guy threw a chair at a girl, hitting her directly in the face. There was a moment of shock and people ran to help her, but then everybody, including the women, seemed to lock eyes like we are going to fuck this guy up. He soon tripped and fell down the deck stairs 4 times. More NSFW. Saw a guy at a party in college beating off 2 guys and blowing one sitting in the middle. I let them have their privacy, and while I'm not personally gay, I did pause for a moment before I left. The coordination involved was impressive no matter what your sexuality. I believe you call the move the pterodactyl. I'm at some meetup for PAX and we've got people from all over the country crammed into like 3 rooms. Some guy pissed himself. We kick him out. 2 dudes take turns railing some not very hot chick. The night goes on and things quiet down until like 4 AM when these dudes start talking about calling for a hooker. When I got home I'm pretty sure I had swine flu too. It was shitty. Swine flu? Nah bruh, they call that the PAX pox. I saw a guy stick his big toe in a naked girl's vagina on a ping pong table. Went on a camping trip with my then boyfriend and 3 other friends. One of the guys had just broken off his relationship, so we expected a lot of healthy drinking to take his mind off things. Well, shit went sideways. We were all drinking and having a good time. but he got absolutely smashed and started screaming across the lake. We were right next to lake properties, and he was letting out guttural screeches like a banshee. Then he whips out his dick and started pissing. So we all got a hold of him and put him to bed before someone called the police on us. 15 minutes later, we're sitting around the campfire and he's back, wailing like a banshee. This time, however, he's completely naked. This guy's 100% blacked out, to the point where I don't think he even knew where he was. He starts spinning around and pissing like a sprinkler while we desperately try to talk him down without getting in the line of fire. Eventually the bravest among us, not me, grab a hold of him and led him back to the tent, where he subsequently screamed himself to sleep and pissed all over his sleeping bag. A midget getting a blowjob while standing on a couch. The chick was standing on the floor and the heights just worked out. Edit. Bonus story. We were all drinking in my buddy's basement, about 21-22 years old at the time. When I walked up to go to sleep in his spare bedroom, there was a baby sleeping next to the bed. Still not sure whose it was as I went to the couch, and in the morning it was gone. A stripper whipping my boss with his own belt. I was 15, and this was a McDonald's staff party. Update. As I have a lot of replies asking for context clarification, the stripper was perfectly normal, not Mayor McCheese or some other nightmarish Macus character. This wasn't a strip club. It was held at an employee's house as the franchisee forbade us from using the store or hiring an actual venue. Some of the older guys booked her as it had been his birthday recently and he had just worked. We were all drinking, and as she was a private hire, nobody got ID'd. Also, you can work at 14 where I live, Australia, and work is exactly what I did. I guess your boss was loving it. I would have left in a McFlurry. Not sure if this counts, but a good story regardless. My friend, a huge 400 pounds monster of a guy, made side money in college by bouncing for parties. At one particular frat party, he went upstairs to take a piss in the less crowded upstairs area because one of the bedrooms had a half bath and the other two were obviously full of crazy drunk people. When he gets up there, he's pretty much alone. He gets down the hall and when he's close enough he hears two voices in the bathroom, a male and female. It takes him a second to realize, but the girl is crying. My buddy gives no fucks about the frat and generally hates the whole thing. He solely did it for the money. He never fit in at these things and that is part of what made him effective. He's equal parts Vinnie Paul and Andre the Giant. But once he realized this girl was crying, he took his job very seriously. Doors locked. He knocks. Heavy. No answer. Voices go quiet. So my huge friend just smashes his shoulder into the door and busts it open into big hits. He sees a guy and a girl. Girl is one of the shortest girls at the school, and the guy's towering over her, but he is nothing compared to my gigantic friend. The guy's holding the girl up against the wall. Her shirt is pulled awkwardly off her shoulder and he is covering her mouth. Her makeup is running down her face and she makes a noise when she sees my buddy. He notices her jeans are unbuttoned. He looks at the girl who is obviously in a panic. Then he looks at the guy and just goes, "You picked the wrong fucking day." This guy is all of 5 feet 8 inches, maybe a $165. To my huge friend he was like a child. He steps into this half bath and yanks the guy off the girl, and just cracks his head off the sink 3 or 4 times. This dude is barely fucking conscious and his nose is broken, bleeding everywhere. My friend then drags the kid down the stairs by the back of the head with both hands. He's barely conscious. At the bottom of the stairs there is a window. My friend drops this kid face down on his broken nose, opens the window, and then in an effortless scoop, heaves this kid out of it into the hedge below. The girl watched all this from the top of the stairs and then bawling her eyes out she hugged my friend and thanked him profusely. At this point the entire party had stopped because of the carnage and I think everyone just kind of realized what he'd done and why he'd done it thanks to the crying girl. TLDR, my friend interrupted a possible rape in progress, beat the shit out of the guy and eat him out of a window. He's a good dude. Waited the fenestrate the rapist. My girlfriend and I watched 2 guys fuck her best friend in a shower. It was just that kind of party. If your girlfriend's best friend wants to show you and your girlfriend something like this, I'm pretty sure you could put together a 3-way. Way ahead of you, sir. Not as much as you came ahead of them. In Bible study we used to have wacky Wednesdays where whoever came last had to wear a crown of mayonnaise then go around in a circle and kiss everyone. Okay, what the fuck, Reddit? His home school was litters. Dad, we're out of mayo. Let me whip some up for you real quick. I know, right? Who spells Wednesday like that? It's a dance called the mess. You stand still on the dance floor and nothing moves but your bowels. It became awkward toward the end. Not from the audience's point of view though. She clearly favored one of the guys and started to ignore the other. He was reduced to standing behind her and tweaking her nipples while the other guy did his thing. He kind of left quietly after a while of being ignored, and that was when we decided that the fun part of the show was over. We walked out and left them to it. The etiquette is simple. Go with the mood. That's the threesome dilemma, you always pick a favorite. Why would you need to pick a favorite when you get to have both? It always goes down like that, in my experience. At some point, someone it giving taking it a little harder or someone just can't keep up. And it's hard to think don't piss off your girlfriend when her hot friend is sucking your dick. Or when you're balls deep in her friend and your GF is just pretty much not involved anymore. That's why I wouldn't do that again. Weirdly, although that's probably for the best, as my own shower-based experiences suggest it would quickly have become a bloodbath. No, blood shower. You could have turned it into your kind of party. It had been my kind of party for quite a long time. There comes a point where watching your girlfriend's friend getting filled out like a form becomes a relaxing interlude. I used to collect money from everyone that wanted to party, then I'd use the money to organize the party. I was in a Goodwill and they had a fucking giant box of plain white t-shirts, and another of plain white boxes. They were on all unused, donated in the big boxes. I asked if I could buy both boxes for $100 and got M. Then I bought alcohol, mostly vodka and Everclear, a couple kegs of beer. I bought a ton of fruit and juice. I bought 2 kiddie pools and filled them with watered down juice. Soaked peaches in vodka, bananas too. Had a few watermelons with a hole cut in the top and the rest of a bottle of Everclear plugged in each one. Party day rules. Men in boxers, women in t-shirts. Got a bob for a peach if you're a dude, banana if you're a chick, then you can party. Totally fucking nonsense idea that didn't work at all, except to get every guy and girl there totally messy, totally sticky, and totally fucking shit-faced. Nudity everywhere, even brood people had some sort of naughty bits showing. So basically everything worked exactly as intended, but those peaches and bananas were hard mode to get out, which made everyone get even more messy. Oh, I like you. When's the next party? I wish I hadn't come into this so late. I threw a party at my house and a bunch of people from another school that I didn't know showed up. One guy came wearing a Hulk mask and those giant Hulk gloves. He ended up fucking this chick on my pool table, still wearing his outfit, chanting "Give it to the Hulk, give it to the Hulk, TLDR Hulk smash." How the hell wasn't he yelling Hulk smash? Then new girlfriend invited me to a party at a hotel room. Lots of alcohol, many of them had drugs. Sobriety has left the building. After most everyone had passed out, I was woken up by my GF as she was woken up by some guy trying to rape the girl he brought in her sleep. Didn't go so well for him. We have this monthly team party which goes after our office shifts. My super drunk colleague started sending dick pics to our team's Skype group conversation. All along he thought he was using the messenger app. Holy shit, we have pretty much the same username. Witnessed. Or at least that's what he told HR. That's when you break out the "someone stole my phone" lie. Someone stole my phone and my dick. That is a pretty legendary oopsie. When I was still in college, I was at a sorority party with my then girlfriend. A woman, probably a freshman, was on the floor, ass up, pants and panties to her ankles, funnel in her ass and people were pouring shots in her asshole. I was too high, drunk and stupid back then to realize that this could easily have killed her and I just left the room with my GF. Had this happened today, I definitely would have intervened. But back then I was just like, whoa dude, she lived, so it's all good. And that woman is now a state senator. What a career. Mitch McConnell was a real party animal before he transitioned. I'd have stuck around for the inevitable projectile diarrhea after she was effectively given an enema. I left the room. I'd have stuck around. There are 2 types of people. I would have thrown the fuck up. I was already crossfaded and had to fight to keep everything down. Look at this team. We're gonna do great. But chugging, made famous by the University of Tennessee Pikes, Youta web page. Edit. I can't express how funny it is to me that lawyers had to say butchaging in a press conference. Jesus, she could have died. Pouring alcohol down your asshole is a legitimate thing. You get drunk way faster from this. Be careful everyone. Edit. Some misinformation. Now I know. But back then I was young. Drunk. I had never seen that before and she seemed to be enjoying herself. Now that I look back on it with a sober mind, it's obvious that it was very reckless and dangerous. But we all make mistakes, right? Especially when we're drunk. Error CXTV 5867 parsing text null x66. When I was a sophomore in high school, a girl I know invited me to a party she was throwing at her house. In hindsight I realized she had a crush on me. In high school, I did not party at all, nor drink, but I was curious so I decided I would go. I get to this party and the eventual valedictorian of our class was dancing topless on a glass table, barefoot. A split second after I notice this, her weight causes the table to collapse and shatter. Since I was the only even remotely sober person at the party, I was tasked with dealing with the fallout. Thankfully, it was relatively tempered and the shards weren't particularly small or sharp, and she wasn't too badly injured. Edit. Well, this is by far my highest ever upvoted comment. To celebrate I had very spicy noodles. Yum. This happened at a party I was at. To the valedictorian. Was it nearly 15 years ago in a suburb of New York? It was in Orlando. I guess this happens more frequently than I thought, but it was almost exactly 15 years ago. Looking at your kids. John Morgan. Wife and I hosted a few Halloween parties over the years. Nothing really scandalous. Just good times. One year had a girl fall down the stairs. House was a split level. It was like 6 stairs. And somehow turned it into a single-handed cartwheel. With beer in hand, she somehow landed it, leaving a bit of beer on the wall, and a big dent in the shilling from the heel of her shoe. I would have never believed it had I not been standing there talking to someone and seeing it actually happen. Then we had kids, and lost our fun factor. Edit. Spelling. Friend's mom blowing a bunch of teens. Nice. Is this American Pie? No, it legit happened. Last time I saw this exact thread I wasn't even the one who brought it up. Ran into 5 people that I know IRL on a random Reddit thread. It was funny. Were there any consequences for her? Was she hot? I don't want to get into too many details out of respect for my friend. She was not particularly attractive in my opinion. They never are. At least it wasn't your mum. I was in charge of taking care of a 28-year German exchange student while I was only 19 at the time. At some point during a party I realized I had lost track of him and I started to hear whispers around the room. In response, I made a cursory search to find my missing German. He wasn't that hard to find. While he was hidden from the main line of sight, he was still relatively in the open, making out with a girl half his size. It was getting to the point that she was riding his hand and moaning. If left alone, they definitely would have gone further. That's when I heard what the whispers were saying. She's 13. I immediately had a no fuck moment and went over to pull them apart. I asked my German compadre if he knew what middle school was. He said number. I asked him if he knew what high school was and he said yes. That girl was in middle school, which comes before high school. She's probably less than half your age. You can have fun tonight, but you need to be more careful. His eyes grew to the size of saucers as he realized the extent of what was going on. In his panic he said no more fun and promptly left to get some air and probably a drink. Was at a party once with some guys I didn't know too well when Robbie Williams' rock DJ started playing. Within 20 seconds every dude in the place was butt naked swinging his dong around. Apparently it's some kind of lad thing that it's compulsory to, no matter where you are, get naked whenever that song plays. I think this was a localized phenomenon and not global. Swinging dongs? At this time of year? In this part of the country? Localized entirely within your kitchen? Yes. May I see it? Well, Lwenjel, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you swing a good dong. Only at gay orgies that are just starting. Guys from where I'm from drop their dacks every time Eagle Rock plays at a party. Ran into an old high school friend at a Wendy's. She invited me to her church and subsequently, her church party. We get to the party and her BF warns everyone not to let her have any alcohol. Apparently she gets annoying when she's drunk as soon her BF goes to the bathroom. Of course I snuck her a drink. BF comes back from the bathroom, and she's mad horny. She wants to suck his dick in front of everyone. He's like fuck number. So then she starts offering BJS to other guys until her BF is essentially forced to comply and we all get to watch a black male blowjob. Black male BJ, at a church party. What was that? The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. May you be touched by his goodly goodness. XGF and myself was at a 3-day house party. Somehow everyone started playing dare. When it got to my ex's turn she dared a chick to blow me in front of everyone. I had no objections to this. Nice ex. Best wingman ever. Were you guys friends after breakup? I'm assuming. Or she has a weird kink. This was when we were dating. She just liked to share. Owen is a fucking legend. It was the most embarrassing thing to have ever happened to me. So I didn't see this, because I was that guy. But I've heard enough recounts of the night to reconstruct it. I came home from college for Christmas break my freshman year. In high school I had been to a total of 0 parties. In college, not so much. I drank heavily and smoked heavily, but thought I was way more advanced than I was at both. So I get invited to a high school party. Friends from the grade beneath me, so seniors at the time, and me and a couple friends pre-game at my house. In about 30 minutes I took 7 or so shots of Svedka. I then filled up a Polar Seltzer bottle with half vodka and half Dole fruit juice. We left to walk to the party, same neighborhood, and in the walkover I finished the whole fucking bottle. Needless to say I showed up blackout drunk, thinking I'm some party pro now that I had been in college for a couple months. I walk in with my arm around my buddy and quietly said to him, yo, what girl you wanna fuck? I got you. Turns out I was fucking shouting this and everyone heard me as I stood pointing around the room. I then went around drunkenly and aggressively hitting on girls to no avail. Then I went to play beer pong, and fell over trying to shoot. The cherry on the pie is what happened next. I went upstairs to go to the bathroom. I unzip my pants and then I wake up to a door hitting me in the head. I look up and see the host and her 2 best friends staring down at me on the bathroom floor with my pants and boxers around my feet. I try to get up and leave and end up falling from wall to wall, knocking off family pictures. When I make it outside I faceplant out the door, jump up and fall back over into the side of the house and fall, dragging my cheek against the shingling. There was a streak of blood and skin and dignity down the wall, and then our left was at a party at a family restaurant. One of my best friends had 2 many martinis and was in a raucous mood. She managed to get up and stand on a table and then proclaimed, "Hey everybody, I got a tattoo of a mouse. Check it out." So she takes her shorts and panties off and she's standing on the table, completely but naked. She's searching her thighs, her waxed vulva, and then raises her hands in resignation before declaring, "Oops, it looks like my pussy must have eaten it." And NBSP. I learned then how black holes get formed, when you become so embarrassed that you warp reality around yourself so that nobody can actually see you sitting there in shock. I don't go out with friends anymore. At a high school house party back in 2012, this one girl got so cross-faded, drunk and high, and I accidentally walked in on her in the restroom. She was peeing on the floor right next to the toilet, like, straight up, had her pants and panties around her ankles, hands on her knees, and was just letting loose. She didn't seem embarrassed by me witnessing this, but she said she didn't want to contaminate clean water, and that someone might wanna drink that. That was one of my more confused boners. Nice. 2 girls eating each other out in our basement. We broke it up. They were really drunk. The one lifts her head, face covered in blood. The other was in midst of full-on Shark Week. I guess true love knows no bounds. I saw a guy exchange a bump of cocaine for temporary use of a phone charger. They both wanted to recharge. Edit. Well, I'll be damned. Seems a fair deal. Unless it was one of those weak chargers that take like 30 minutes to charge 10%. Legit trade. An Eiffel Tower. I need to know how people find these girls. We are on Tinder. RIP your inbox. Widen search radius. Step 1. Be attractive. Well fuck, that's me out. Step 2. Don't be unattractive. Well, we tried. You, like me, probably make the mistake of assuming in every one of these situations the girl is attractive. Realistically, that is probably not the case, or even close to the case. Edit. RIP my inbox. It's good to be reminded when reading all these crazy stories. Am I the only one who doesn't go to parties like these? Fuck. Once at a party my friends and I played Super Smash Bros on a Wii U for like 3 hours. It was wild. I mean, who even has a Wii U? Well come on dude, you could have at least jizzed on it or something. Some of the parties mentioned here involve some high school students having threesomes and shit. What the fuck is going on in their parties? Seriously. I'm from high school and we don't even have parties like these. Everyone just studies. I mean, I'm Asian and in an Asian country, but still. In an Asian country, well there you have it. House party culture isn't really a thing in Asian countries because until recently, and still today in many places, Asians don't move out of their parents' homes unless they get a good job or get married or out of necessity. Most American high schoolers don't party like that, but there are areas in America where they do, mainly wealthy areas. I don't go to parties at all. In a nightclub one time, I saw a man, probably late 20s early 30s, drop his jeans and proceed to diarrhea shit all over the floor. Never going back to that club. Edit. Obligatory. Get Swifty. YouTube webpage. Not nice. I was at a house party and my buddy claimed that he can't get a boner and hasn't for some time. This was when the females of the party decided that the time was right for philanthropy and this was a cause they could get behind. Cue the lap dances. Girl after girl tried their best to give Buddy a rise. But alas, they all failed. Or did they? At one point, where the attempt was particularly intense, Buddy flashed me a knowing wink. That guy was brilliant. I didn't personally witness it, but was told about it the next day. A sorority would have their holiday party at our banquet hall every year. Most of the time someone would get too drunk and puke in the bathroom or outside. This one time a waitress saw a girl sitting on a guy's laps halfway through the party. She was slowly moving up and down, drawing little attention from the drunken crowd. The waitress thought they were just hooking up and left them alone. Until she went to water glasses and clear tables. Her panties were on the floor and her skirt was hiked up while she bounced with no self-aware on where she was. The captain of the party quickly intervened and told them they had to leave. The girls in charge of the group apologized, but in the end, they were banned from having another event at the banquet hall. Another time, there was a birthday party or christening, I forget which. Some lady thought it was a good idea to change her baby's diaper on the table in the middle of the party. She was told that the restroom had a changing table, but instead, proceeded with changing the poopy diaper and throw the diaper under the table. We throw out the linen after that party was over. The waitress thought they were hooking up but was shocked to later find they were hooking up. Unfortunately, hooking up is one of those terms that what it means differs from one person to another. I personally think it means fucking. My best friend however thinks it means making out. For me it depends on the context. She was slowly moving up and down, drawing little attention from the drunken crowd. To me, that hooking up would be sex. An impromptu blowjob contest. Two drunk girls were arguing and one of them said go suck a dick. The other said I could suck one better than you, bitch, and then a male volunteer stepped forward and offered his services. Everyone laughed, and what was once a very tense atmosphere that seemed like it was about to lead to physical violence, led to the crowd chanting suck his dick, suck his dick. Peer pressure is a bitch, I guess. The girl agreed to suck his dick, so the other girl chose another very willing volunteer, and the Peter puffing contest began. Next thing we know, some guy was in the corner getting his dick sucked by his girlfriend as well. Best party ever. Apart from the normal sex, drugs and alcohol, I've seen a girl do coke of another guy's dick then blow him while he made out with a second girl. I've seen a girl steal the Rock Band game's drumstick and use it as a dildo in the bathroom. Was a nice mystery for the 10 minutes we were looking for it. Seen a 16-year-old. I was also 16. Flash a couple of college goers. We were in a university camp, and almost get them to have a threesome with her before I told them her age. That was the fastest I saw two men run away from a threesome. Saw a dad using two flashlights and trying to turn the party rave-like. We were 15 and his mother was the at-the-door bouncer, next to the bathroom, with vomit on the ground. I saw a guy pull out a girl's tampon and then eat her out. Saw him an hour later with blood visibly on his face. During a fight, a guy hit the other dude with a baseball-like item. I'm not sure what it's called in English. Closest word I can think of is cudgel. The guy was in a coma for 2 weeks. Finally, and most NSFW, I saw a guy on Gonuald or a similar subreddit in the corner of the room. I don't go to many parties anymore. Edit. Oh, I do remember one, where I was told a guy traded blow and other hard drugs for a blowy. I can't confirm this, but I heard that he didn't want a full one. Just couple quick sucks and then he ushers you off. I think his endgame was to get high numbers or maybe like a power thing IDK. Edit 2. This is a cudgel Amazon Oz webpage. I'm talking about IDK if I want to go to every party with you or never go to a party with you. Saw a dad using 2 flashlights and trying to turn the party rave like. We were 15 and his mother was the at the door bouncer. Awesome parents major cringe. I went to a party in college and made my way to the beer pong table. Teamed up with this cute chick I worked with and we proceeded to run the table. I was absolutely on fire and managed to skunk pretty much everyone at the party. House rule was if you get skunked you have to remove one article of clothing for every round you played. Needless to say me and my partner were the only ones fully clothed by the end of the night. It was actually pretty terrible because all I wanted was to see my co-workers' tits. This is exactly how me and my ex started dating. Except we teamed up and immediately got skunked and had to do a naked lap around the house. We ended up not going back to the party after the lap. This is much better than my story, thank you. Same difference. Once you both beat everyone, you should have made it the ultimate showdown where you two went against one another. That shit would have been legendary. Needless to say me and my partner were the only ones fully clothed by the end of the night. It was actually pretty terrible because all I wanted was to see my co-workers' tits. That's your pickup line right there. Maybe a bit less you though. Something like it's a shame we're so good at this. I'd rather see you with your clothes off than these guys with their clothes off. Some bitch ate all my peanut butter biscuits. Most NSFW thing I've seen so far. My friends and I lit some shit on fire in a sewage tunnel one time. We had pretty boring parties. Do you live in Derry? Holy crap, that is messed up and sad. In college the conversation of circumcision came up. I'm not circumcised, so I pulled out my dick to show these girls. They never seen one before and wanted to see mine. And one of the girls started jerking me off. Edit. I also need to mention that I did hook up with her that night. Her roommate and some of my homeboys were watching me. It was the first time anyone actually watched me fuck. This happened on a Friday, the week before the beginning of the new semester. That Monday I went to one of my classes, I think it was organic chemistry, and somebody kicked my seat. I turned back and it was her. We were okay friends after that. I haven't spoken to her after graduation. At a party last Halloween when I was studying in Texas, from Northern Ireland, the girl that invited me took me upstairs and pulled my dick out. She looked at it and said HMM. Well, that's new. She has never seen an uncircumcised dick in real life before. Sucked it anyway. Look at you going places. I reckon you'd struggle to find a circumcised bellend in all Belfast. So this is kind of a double NSFW thing. Went to lingerie party with this girl. We snuck off to do some boning and apparently something happened to where everyone was leaving. We were in a corner of the yard where it was pretty much pitch black but people had to walk about 20 feet from us to get out. My pants are still around my ankles and my girl's legs are spread on the rail of the gazebo. Another chick walks up from around the other side of the gazebo, squats 3 feet from us and starts peeing. Didn't see her until I heard the pee hit the cement. Totally killed my boner from surprise. When I was like 16 I saw a guy from the year ahead of me punched a girl from my grade in the face. Hard. Everybody bugged out on him, obviously, and he ran into the bathroom and locked the door and sobbed obnoxiously loud. This big senior kid wound up busting the doorknob by kicking it several times with maybe 10 to 15 kids standing behind him watching. The door swung open. The guy was sitting on the toilet, crying with his pants down masturbating. Edit. Grammar, spelling, missed words, etc. So a guy in my fraternity looked like a party boy, but was a shy virgin. He met some girl at our parties, and took her to his room. Everybody knew what was happening. A group of us was waiting a few doors down, waiting to razz the guy. Walks in the room, face is red, blood red. Turns out he just went down on her. She was on her period, and she didn't tell him. The lights were off too, I guess. I saw a dude in a Superman costume. This was not a costume party, blowing another dude sitting on a couch. Then after the BJ was completed, Superman puked up a condom onto the floor next to the couch. My girlfriend, her friend who brought us to the party, and I watched an AWW. I'll have one fizzy jizzy, please. Edit. My first time Reddit gold. Thank you, kind stranger. OMG. That's fucking crazy. Someone bought one of those make your own soda things. Okay, I'll bite. Walk me through this. Bunch of dudes came in a soda stream, then I assume drank it. You should have played Four Kings, then made that the dirty pint. When I was 13 I was at a party and one of the girls passed out drunk and some guys shoved a squirt gun in her pussy and squirted it full of water. I made them stop and they hated me for the rest of the year. But, sounds like you saying effectively no, that's wrong. Held up a mirror to their behavior, and when people don't like what they see, they often blame others. Tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage to a really nice house. Classic case of parents are away for the weekend and trust their 16-year-old daughter to not fuck up. Pre-social media days. Well, MySpace was around, but word got out of an open party quickly and hundreds rocked up and unleashed chaos. People were kicking holes in walls, destroying furniture, etc., but the memorable ones were people queuing up to fill a bathtub up with piss, shitting in appliances and Tarzan swinging off hanging lights and even an overhead projector. I don't understand as to why people are assholes, and will use any excuse to prove this. I hate people like that. I went to a party at the house of a girl that I went to high school with, and these dudes started throwing buckets of white paint out the second story window into the backyard. They got kicked out and then a bunch of dudes left the party to go jump them. Once saw a girl in a one-piece bathing suit. Not sure why, because they didn't even have a pool. Sorry sir, that is too NSFW for this thread. I dare say my purity has been spoiled by reading this post. I shall have to confess directly to the queen herself. I got called over at a party to extricate a couple. Said couple had snuck off into the bushes for some fun sexy time and a little bit of pink whistle blowing was on the menu. Unfortunately the gentleman in question had an untamed pubic bush, and the lady had braces and apparently an amazing ability to deep throat. IDKY, I was the automatic go-to when someone gets her braces caught in pubic hair, but none of us get to choose our superhero powers. While you were out partying and having pre-martial sex, I was studying the blade. It's going to pay off any day now and I'm going to be deep in pussy. Pre-martial sex, is that when you fuck before a karate championship? Too busy studying the blade to go to school. Oh my god, if that was my cat, heads would roll. Tell me about the rabbits, George. Oh, well, this thread was fun. For a while, I never went to that many parties. Probably the worst it's got for me was one time when I was at a small house party with some folks from school. Secondary school in the UK. We would have all been 15-16 at the time. At my female classmate's house. Went upstairs to visit the powder room. Came back down to the living room to find about 6 girls sat on a duvet on the floor, right in front of the couch I'd been sitting on, discussing their favorite masturbation techniques. Me being me, I just resumed my seat and pretended not to listen. But of course I was listening, and they carried on talking. Not sure if you're male, for the explicit emphasizing of female classmate and saying you pretended not to listen, or you're a female, for calling it powder room, or that the emphasis of the story is that the 6 girls were surrounded by a bunch of other people talking their talk. I got a nice BJ in the middle of the party. It was nice. Probably the time the older sister, 23 or 24 at the time of a classmate, had a threesome with me and a friend of mine at the classmate's birthday party. I was 17 and still a virgin. Another former friend of mine was in the room as well, pretending to be asleep. Must have really sucked for him to be the only one of 3 guys not to be invited to join in. But he always was kinda creepy and awkward. As I'm thinking about it, I start to remember what kind of shit show it really was. All 3 of us puked during the night as we A, drank a lot, B, found the homemade fruit-based liquor in the fridge that had most likely gone bad, but we were too drunk to notice. Also, I had trouble getting it up at first and then came after about 3 minutes, while the other 2 were too drunk to even come. It was kinda weird at school after that because people had seen us making out and it wasn't too hard to guess what happened later. Kind of mixture between mocking and congratulations. The guy whose birthday party it was is still, almost a decade later, in denial about the fact that his sister got double teamed at that party. A bunch of the guys decided to have a farting contest. One gambled and lost and shot a poo nugget at least 5 feet into some girl's lap that was sitting across from him. She ran out screaming like a banshee. Work friend of a friend, pouring this girl triple JD and cokes all night, then volunteering to take her upstairs and put her to bed. She was visiting and staying over at the house. She could barely stand or talk, so me and 2 others noped this pretty hard, told the guy to fuck off, and got the owner of the house who she was staying with to see that she was alright. Not NSFW, but you did right stopping that scumbag, well done. It is NSFW. If you did that at your workplace you would have been fired. Here's some gold for stopping a rape. A+ you and the people who helped rock. Same thing happened to me once. I was with the owner of the house picking up pizzas about a mile away and we got a call about what was happening. Pizzas weren't ready, so we paid a driver $20 to deliver them when they were ready, and we scurried back to the house. The perp's night didn't go well after that. We found him upstairs trying to feel the girl up and kiss her. We were the 2 big guys at the party. First real fight I got into. Perhaps not the most NSFW, but as it's a regular occurrence I thought I'd share some context. Phallicids are French students who wear some sort of beret. The phallach. It's the student's traditional hat in France. They're a bunch of people who enjoy partying, meeting new people from all around the country, and generally having fun. Well, during parties, there's that one song by Sheila, old school French singer, called Leroy's Majors. Whenever it starts playing, everyone starts stripping, guys and gals alike. Of course some do not want to participate and simply keep dancing normally. When I first witnessed that, I have to say it took me a while, and asking the friend who had brought me there, to understand what the hell was happening. I find it to be an amusing tradition and of course, partake in it. Never heard of anyone being groped either, which is honestly super cool. I went to a meat party once. This was my first party in college. The guy who owned the house had his band Glitoris providing some music. A drunk guy screaming into a microphone while another guy banged on some trash cans. Everyone else is in an intoxicated mosh in front of the band when a dozen or so girls burst out of the other room. They are all in various states of undress, but the thing they have in common is they are all dressed in an assortment of meats, deli slices covering up their nipples, sausage links like necklaces strewn around their necks, etc etc. So half of the girls are carrying bags of raw meat and the other half have bags of glitter. They distribute themselves amidst the mosh and in unison rip open their bags and throw the contents up into the air. Just try to picture a drunken mob of 50 or so people headbanging and flailing around crazily while glitter and raw meat rain down upon them to the tune of trash cans being utterly obliterated while a man screamed Bloody Mary into a microphone. Ground beef and chicken wings littered the floor. Bacon strips and sausage links were thrown haphazardly. Full, uncooked steaks and chicken thighs and pork roasts were torn to shreds and flung high into the air. Girls are pulling sardines out of their underwear. Sweat and juices and blood all combined into a thick paste. Glitter, as glitter is wont to do, got everywhere. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. TL. Doctor, I went to a meat party where a dozen or so naked women rained raw meats and glitter down upon a drunken mosh pit. Saw a brother and sister maquillered with the same chick. Not at the same time but still. Walked in a girl leaving a double-decker at a party. Turns out it was her BFF's house and she saw him making out with another girl. We were at a house party where everyone was pretty smashed when someone pulled out the host's tiny kitten from the closed-off room it was in. It got passed around from person to person, just having the ever-loving shit petted out of it. I wasn't around it when it happened, so I don't know if the kitten was just rough-handled so badly its neck was broken, or if it died of stress or was dropped, but at one part of the night a girl started screaming that the kitten was dead. The worst part was the host was scream crying, but there was still a bunch of guys around her trying to convince her to let them keep going with the party. In high school I noticed a lot of my football buddies were missing from the basement. I hear some commotion and head upstairs. There's guys piled around a bedroom door and I can see guys inside sitting down and drinking beer and doing chew. As I get closer to the door, I see the entertainment. Our left guard having sex with his girlfriend. She was bouncing so high that I got a glimpse of something I can never forget. The fact he was having sex with his girlfriend wasn't the weird part. It was the fact he was saying "get the fuck out of here" in between moans to the 5-6 dudes getting the free show. I'll never forget that bizarre scene. Work holiday party, newer employee and his wife get absolutely trashed and proceed to twerk all over the place. Wasn't all that NSFW until she pulled a chair onto the dance floor and proceeded to do one of the better performed lap dances I've ever witnessed, on her husband, no less than 15 feet from our entire executive leadership and their significant others. He lasted until the Tuesday of the following week, only because he was still too hungover 2 days later to come into work that following Monday. Kid got locked out of his apartment across the hall, used a 30-feet ladder to span the balcony's 3 floors up to infiltrate his apartment, with nothing more than solid concrete below. Source: was that kid. Our Osher would be proud. As long as he was tied off wearing his PPE and the ladder was rated for a load minimum of 300 pounds, I see nothing wrong with this. I'm surprised at the amount of parties gone orgy. I have never ever seen or even heard of anything like this here. But to end with a question. They made a series of challenges which involved some kind of drinking gross alcohol and other stuff. One guy shat himself during a piss contest, another one puked out the beer he just downed in order to get an advantage in a game, and another one pissed into the hallway because he couldn't get to the toilet fast enough. One guy shat himself during a piss contest, so he brought shit to a piss fight. 2 guys drugging a random girl, told a couple of friends, told the owner of the bar and contacted the police. They tried to take the girl before the cops arrived, got their asses kicked by half the bar. Word spread like wildfire, and you wanna know the funny part? They tried suing the bar and some people that wouldn't let them leave before the cops got there, more or less 2 years ago. Went to court, they got community service, but had to pay some money to the girl and hospital cost. This was like an actual disco party, the public kind that you buy tickets for, with performances and everything. There was a lesbian couple getting it on towards the end of the night, or should I say morning. One of them was giving the other a hand job. She was using a hat to cover it up, but unless you were either blind or stupid, you knew what was going on. To be 16 again. I went to a party with my best friend from school, who had a boyfriend at the time. I lose her or I'm trying to find the bathroom or something, and next minute I walk in to see her on the roast. Me and my girlfriend at the time were at a house party a few years ago. We knew about 1/3 of the people there. Decent sized house. I'd say around 50-60 people. We were sitting in the living room on the couch, and this was pretty late in the night. We drank almost all day, did some bumps of coke throughout the night. She looked at me and smiled. I wanna fuck you on the floor right now. Started taking each other's clothes off and started banging. People were pretty confused and in shock at first. They eventually all went outside or down the basement. Everyone was pretty much plastered. No one took it to heart or really cared that much the next day. I don't talk to anyone that went to that party this day, so it's never been brought up again. Nice. My friends got drunk and started a 3-way makeout session in the kitchen. 3 dudes. Then they moved to the room and locked themselves in there. They had a threesome somehow, but they weren't all that attractive, so I was very surprised. They were all supervisors at the place I used to work at. It was very interesting. Edit. Replying to someone else's comment, I remembered more to the story. They were done pretty quick because they were drunk and parts weren't working right. And then one of them had a hickey, the cutest of the 3, and asked me to take it off him because we all had work the next day. And he asked me cause I was sober. So we were in the bathroom doing the chapstick cap on the hickey and he was moaning. For some weird reason. And next thing I know, he closed the door. We started making out and then we started to enjoy our night. So I got his sloppy thirds. Oops. Sometimes unattractive people have sex. So you're saying there's a chance. It was very interesting. Dag. The people you are reading about are not as attractive as you are picturing in your head. Finally I can post something. So yeah, at a party, everybody is getting high and or drunk, and there is the dog that the people hosting have. You can probably already guess what's gonna happen, but anyway, I am like 75% drunk, not high. This was after I stopped smoking, or I would have been, and I got a piss, so I go to the bathroom, bam, occupied. Okay, I am a guy whatever, so I go outside to find a bush and remember how I said there was a dog? Yeah, so the dog was a male. not fixed. Big lab mix type thing, okay? So as I am looking for a nice bush to piss in, I hear a dog panting. No idea why the dog was outside, but I go to find it and bring it in, and one of the girls is on all fours getting fucking railed by a dog. I am a nice guy usually, and I was drunk, so I didn't rat her out to anybody. I wasn't sure how I felt other than instantly sober, and don't even know if she knew what I saw. Hey Carly, if you read this, I know what you did last summer. It was my buddy's 19th birthday party and there was around 40 people at his house. He was obliterated and in turn extremely horny, so he was trying to hook up with this black chick while barely being able to speak. I left to walk some girls home because I'm cool like that. When I got back I was truly disgusted. I went downstairs to the basement after hearing everyone chanting red 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 red. When I go into the room I see my buddy naked except for a sock on his dick with blood smeared all over his chest and war painted on his face. He was as happy as a pig in shit. He was posing for group pictures for a few minutes. I then followed a trail of dripping blood into the concrete fruit cellar in the next room. There was a pool of blood flowing into a drain hole and some scattered clothes all around. I asked another friend WTF happened, and he tells me that my buddy was raw dogging the black chick in the cellar in the dark, but he did not know that she was on the period that would end all periods. He literally murdered that pussy. IDK how she didn't die of blood loss. But to top it all off, his mom comes home suddenly to see her naked son covered in blood yelling, "I am the Red Baron." She screams and tells everyone to leave. My favorite part was at this moment their black neighbor pokes his head in and goes, "Damn, WHO died, RIP Red Baron." I didn't witness it personally, but there was a major festival in my hometown last Saturday. A female was filmed completely naked lying on her back fingering herself in the middle of a crowd. Mind you, the attendance for this festival was over 20,000 people. She had consumed a synthetic acid tab, and presumably blacked out completely. Shit's fucked. Edit. Substance could have been 25I. NBOMN. Just a gentle reminder to test your drugs before consumption, especially when ingesting unknown tabs. There are a lot of LSD substitutions floating the drug scene at the moment, and unfortunately, most including 25I, which can be fatal at high doses. The host didn't have proper SDS documents on the chemicals in his closet. When did they drop the M? A couple of years ago, apparently. Only kind of fits. But, when I was 14 I was at a pal's place way out in the country. We were the small house beside a road that led back to some big houses. The snotty kids were back there having a massive party. They put up a large sign at the turn for the road, and said we couldn't come. We were underage and looked every bit of it. This was back before GPS was in most cars, so we did what any kids would do. We put the sign on the opposite side of the road, pointed down a road used by trucks logging the woods across the way. The road was paved for about 100 feet, then straight mud. Must have been 5-7 very nice BMWs, and I recall a Mercedes stuck out there, mired above their axles. Their occupants using some incredibly NSFW language to describe the sign and their car's current location. Of course we were on our front porch, enjoying the show. My friend stood on a chair at a party once. I told him it was dangerous, but he did it anyway. Hardly warrants a mention. I was busy throwing up in a bathroom, head resting on the sink at this point, when a woman came in, sat down on the toilet beside me and had a pee. She was cute looking if I recall correctly. A girl ran to the bathroom, pulled her pants down and passed out. She shat herself, like a lot. It was splattered all over the ground. A lot of guys were just standing there, laughing at her and bringing more people into the supposed fun. I went in there and kicked everyone out and cleaned her up, woke her up and gave her some electrolytes and rang her parents to get her. Hope she's doing okay. Was at a party in high school with a lot of drunk and horny teenagers. One guy had brought a large tub of animal crackers. Another guy saw his crackers and I guess really wanted some. The second guy goes up to Mr. Animal Cracker with his girlfriend and says, "Hey, I'll trade you my Asian for those animal crackers." The guy looks at the crackers then back at the girl. They traded for the rest of the night and everyone was happy. Serious. Once saw an unconscious girl getting fucked by some frat boys. My friend and me told them to stop. The other frat boys kicked us out. We flagged down some cops. They didn't do anything about it. Not sure why. I'm no lawyer. The college town has a huge problem with date rape. I stopped going to college parties after that. I held an MA party for my 21-year-old birthday. We were around 40 attendants I believe. Was a wild party but one of the most NSFW. Apart from 40 people rolling, was an orgy in the middle of the side room. Around 5 people were in the cuddle area doing more than just cuddling, all the while a bunch was playing Twister. A girl who got really fucked up tried her hardest to get me and my girl to join in on some threesome fun, but she was just too much to be honest. After doing some kissing with both of them, we politely declined. That didn't stop her from touching and flashing for the rest of the night until she got her eyes on a new prey. She ended up kissing with a boy in the cuddle area while touching herself all over, with one of her friends doing God knows what on top of them. Another girl and a boy joined later on and I think they were there for at least 2 hours, and the guy she started with seemed more than happy when he said goodbye after the party. It didn't stop them from going to town. When people walked by the room it wasn't really hidden, but it was covered by the big Bob Molly blanket that we hang from the ceiling to the floor. Most of the parties I go to end up as orgies, so, hi, I'm your new friend. Gay orgies. Hi, I'm your new friend. We had a party back in college for us called Earn Your Stripes. Basically, all the guys dressed up like armed forces and was allotted 3 childrens. They were then instructed to give these stripes to any girl they wanted for whatever reason. The girl with the most stripes at the end of the night got a $50 Victoria's Secret gift card. It was a good night and was generally very fun. I gave out my stripes for a back rub. Someone made me a drunk burger. Pretty tame stuff. Most of the girls would do vanilla favors for stripes, some took it a bit further. A few girls would flash tits for a stripe or hit a group of guys for a stripe each. There were a few OTP HJs, over the pants HJs, given, but the one that takes the cake was from a notorious slut. She and this other girl, who looked a lot like her, were known around the house due to their habits of getting blasted by both liquor and dudes. Anyway, long story short, I was wandering around the party, room to room, looking for some friends toward the end of the competition. I finally get to the last room where they had to be. I open the door only to find one of the sluts, who happened to be wearing a skirt, with one leg up on a desk a la Captain Morgan, elbow deep inside herself. There were about 7 other guys in the room. Obviously giddy and honest, look quite surprised at the sheer talent she possessed. Needless to say, she won the competition that night. Hope the $50 gift card was worth it.